Greetings, Summoners. Cosmic here, and welcome back to another Battle Spirit Saga video. And today is the start of something new, and hopefully something that will continue down the line. So I wanted to kind of intro it and kind of talk about why we're talking about it before we get into the actual content of the video itself, because that'll be the new format going forward, of course, right? So one thing that's really important to any new card game is really celebrating the local community and making sure that the game is growing from a local perspective. And one thing that I really love that Japanese Battle Spirits did is there's a couple different Twitter accounts that will give you this really nice weekly meta report that just is from, I think they have like 80 some shops that they include, right? So there's a very good number behind it. And I just really want to do something like that for Saga as well, because I think it's really important to have your, your Palm Springs videos and like, here's all what came out of the Grand Open and all that stuff, have the top cutting edge, top 16 lists and all that is good. But really, there's a lot of special lists that can be found at the local level and really where a lot of these new ideas can grow from. So I'm really hoping this is going to be more of one, first and foremost, again, a celebration of going to be locals, and two, just, getting some additional ideas out there. Or if people says, hey, I really want to brew with a random Nemesis deck, or I really want to brew with a random Pandemonium deck, right? And hopefully some of those lists will come up within the community, and then it can start a discussion about here's what so-and-so played at locals, or even just spreading, hey, did you know that there's this locals that's playing in Toronto, and help bring more exposure to the local gaming scene. So please, if you haven't already, make sure you are following BSS Top Decks on Twitter. Tweet them out, all that good stuff. That's how we're going to be getting all this information and really help grow this game again as a community. And I cannot stress enough how important that is. So with all that out of the way and, more of this to evolve and change in the future, there might be, giveaways starting with set 2 where the spiciest list that the community votes on, I'll send them a box or give them like a gift card for their locals or something. Really, I just want to help support the LGS because that is so important for both the growth and continued support of the game. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the actual video itself. So first and foremost, as I kind of already hinted at, this is not a tier list. This is not at all meant to be like, hey, this is the must play. This is what must, oh my God, look at, they went 5-0 in locals, insane new tech and all that stuff. Not quite. Right now, there might be that kind of hidden in the rough gem and all that sort of stuff where we do find a new list and we as a community kind of work on it together and say, hey, has this come up? Look at this couple interesting cards they've put together. Hopefully, that can spark some discussions, as I previously said. But also, more importantly, that, again, starting today, at the time of this recording, the 4 decks that I would recommend that you test with is going to be Rex, White Aggro, Fabled Beast, and some version of Purple Control, be it mid-range, or I should say, purple good stuff, right? Be it mid-range, be it control, be it whatever you want to call or slide that package into, something purple. Those are like my 4 key places that I would start with. That is, I think, what is going to be on everyone's mind. And obviously, we're still waiting to see where the tournament pack promos go because, people have to go to their locals. We've only had 2 weeks of promos. More and more of that will come to happen in the future. And again, this is more to be a, showing off what people are playing at locals and get some other ideas out there. So with that, said as well, again, it's a weekly celebration. I really want to stress that this is meant to be rewarding the community, talking about lists, hyping up new ideas, seeing that Luster did well, right? And really just help shape the discussions around, yes, there's always going to be best decks in the format. Yes, there's always going to be a tier list down the road. But sometimes you just want to try something new. Maybe your key spirit is Michaela and you're like me and like, man, Luster has been having a rough go, right? And you just want to see what some other people are doing and seeing what their combinations of, sideboard or, what kind of spell packages are you using. I really want this video format to be that launching ground for those discussions. So I'll figure out a new format and all that stuff in the template and say like at the end of it, I'll be like, Nova, Luster, and Fabled Beast. And that'll be like the tag for YouTube that's at the end. And hopefully that's good enough for future uses, but we will see. So without any further ado, any, formal disclaimers and all that stuff out of the way, we'll cut all this out for future video segments. Again, if this is going to be weekly or bi-weekly, let me know in the comments below. At minimum, I will do a image like the one I'm about to show every single week, but I'm not sure that this needs to be a video every week. So I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll take it from there. So with that, we have the first, Meta Monday report, or, Meta Report Monday, whatever you want to call it, and just a quick breakdown. So yes, I am going to kind of maybe add like percentages and stuff once we get more, shops kind of participating or players reporting out for their shops. at this, first introduction of it, we only have 11 stores that were reported out because, again, as the name on that side, whichever way my camera's flipped, BSS Top Decks is what you need to tweet at and follow to make sure that we're sharing this information. And I've noticed that when I went into, BTCG Plus, looked up the back end, at least in North America, again, I can't speak through other regions because I was lazy. I'll just say, right, it's not the easiest thing to find stuff outside your region because, like, you have to go into your profile, change your region, change the game, change back to the game. I'm not doing all that. I can say for North America, there was 376 events. I believe it was over 350. I forget the exact number now. And we only got 11 of those. So I really hope that over time, this is something that can grow. I'd like a goal for me would be like, hey, if we can get 50 stores reporting out, I think that would be a huge deal. So again, please do what you can, help spread the word, get the note out there that, hey, we want to start collecting all these, and we'll put together nice little images like this that show like, hey, Rex, white aggro, white control. We kind of all figure all those, but there's a Nova list. Ooh. And then of course the back of the card for the Battle Spirit Saga card itself will always just be like the other category. And I will hopefully spend most of the time kind of unpackaging what's in there, right? So if you want a Rex list or if you want a white aggro list, right, shout out to Eggman's website. You can always go find that stuff, and anyone will say, hey, if you want to play Rex, go look at these lists, start there, right? Again, this is really meant to be some of more of those other interesting brews that people are playing and try to get the discussion around those other cards. So with that, of course, we got to give a huge shout out to Primitive Kage, obviously a huge friend that's been helping out the channel and runs BSS Top Deck. So that's the person who's helping, put together all these videos and get those discussions started. And he got there with Nova. And if I remember, this is like a 4-round event. And I love it. This is something that we've been spending quite a bit of time talking about. As we see yellow kind of break into the meta and now finally like start to increase in playability, right? You have God Beast, you have the Alice package. There's a bunch of like weird, I shouldn't say weird, but interesting spice that people are playing as they don't have like promos yet, or they just want to try out some of the other yellow cards, or they're splashing things like Cursed Dragon and Bishop, right? There's a lot of interesting things that you can do to the Fabled Beast core that we've talked about time and time again, where it's like, here's 36 cards, do whatever you want with the last 14. Seriously, that's how flexible the Fabled Beast core is. We've seen Luster and stuff. However, those decks all suffer from one very, 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 very big thing called Nova, because you have things that you can just have the 4 of Andromeda main deck. And I think it was just flexing on us. Like, look at this. This guy's got his finalist pack Andromeda there. But obviously, Andromeda is very, very good at removing things like the Paradise in the Blessed Cathedral. You obviously have some number of Burning Force as well, which is flexible. And if you can just turn off a lot of yellow's value engine, the deck falls apart. You kill the Freezetall, you kill the Paradise. They're not doing anything. Yes, you might get lucky. You might draw into like an elephant or some other surprise sideboard tech that can help you claw back a little bit. But if you go against this Nova list, and if you don't have like a really fine-tuned sideboard, you're probably going to lose to it. So huge shout out to Primitive Kage. I really do like this more mid-range focus of Nova list, right? It wants to play a much more fair game. It's not all in on the combo like we've seen from the Vegas lists, like things like Flamefish and Bearded Eagle, right? Really lowering the curve, trying to play a more honest early game, and then relying on Volcanic Canyon to help find your combo pieces. So 4 Seagworm and 3 Nova is a split. The list that I was working on, which is going to be in a video tomorrow, Wednesday, whichever day I finish recording. So spoiler, yes, I am working on that Turbo Rex video still. And my version of Nova, I did cut back to, I think it was 3 and 3, because I wanted to have another spot for Andromeda. I think I cut only down to 2 Andromeda in my list in more of an early game package. But again, a lot of this is still very similar, and I kind of like it, right? Like, if the format slows down and we see a lot of these yellow decks, I think it's just Nova's going to have a field day of just going through the motions, popping a bunch of their board and keeping them off track, where Nova is just a very good card. Now, again, this deck is going to struggle against very, very good aggro players because it does take a bit of time to set up, and it is kind of rough to see your combo. So if you're starting to see a more of an increase of Nova at your locals, well, it might just be time to go back to white aggro and Rex. Obviously, those are still 2 very, very good decks that we would recommend playing going forward. But again, really do like to see something for Nova, because I've been working on a couple lists. I know there's some rumors out there about Nova's return, right? That I think there's some truth to it. Yes, it's going to have some bad matchups, but with all the yellow floating around, it might be very, very well positioned. Moving on from there, we have Rolling Royce from Grimdark Gaming with the 5-0 Fabled Beast. And if I'm not mistaken, I didn't see it on Twitter. This is just where I got otherwise. I think this is also the shout out to, was it BSS Aus for BSS Australia? And I think they just did a video on it. I did just check the Discord previous to this. So go check them out if you want to have more reasoning behind this. Definitely give their YouTube a shout out. But really love to see, again, Yellow, as we were just talking about, it's picking up in Steam. Here we get to see the Gale Yale, which is just a cheap 4K body. I'm going to assume this is because they didn't have the Dual Eagle promo. Obviously, this is week 2. That seems like a very easy substitution. We have things like the Suppression main deck just to respect aggro. We have the Elephant, which was just going to help with the purple matchup, helps you draw, make sure you don't get outgassed in that matchup itself, help you refill your hand, swarm the board, and kill them. And then also just kind of respecting even more purple with the Fula, the Curse Dragon, Core Theft combo being for the aggro decks, trying to surprise them in game 2, game 3. And then a Dream Bomb just for a good old bounce against things like Maduke and Durm Dyna, who can be quite sticky and cause you a lot of issues. So you really have to be able to time those Dream Bombs successfully, or that you can let a Maduke and Durm Dyna just run away with the game very, very easily. That's speaking of Durm Dyna itself, right? That card is pretty dang good against Fabled Beast because we do want to have a lot of Nexus, right? Again, if Yellow can't get their Nexus online, you're losing a lot of value, you're losing a lot of steam, and it's very hard to win some of these other matchups. So, Hippocampo, Ervita for multi-blocks, good early game stall against a lot of the red and white decks, but it is still going to be a tough matchup, at least in my experience against more established players. It can be a rough matchup because if you stumble on a turn or if they have really well-timed removal on your Nexus and then have a Scorched Battlefield on their side and just play that value game, you fall behind very, very quickly. So, and obviously Rex just being Rex, that guy is hard to remove, it turns out. So again, really do like this list. And I think that this is, something that we're going to see a lot more of going forward with Fabled Beast because of the Dual Eagle promo itself. And again, it's something I very strongly recommend needs to be in your, core gauntlet of decks to test with because it is a quite good shell to build off of and something I can expect to see a lot more going into, I think the European Grand Open is next. Forgive me, I know there's a few coming up before Ohio, and I forget their locations, but I would not be surprised at all to see Fabled Beast again make a cut into, top 16 or whatever that threshold looks like. In terms of what that exact cut is, remains to be seen because I haven't done a lot of the TP promo testing myself yet. I think Axe Spider is a bit overrated is kind of like my quick hits on it, or I guess quick TP thoughts. They're all just very okay. Some obviously better than others. Axe Spider and Dual Eagle are probably the best two, but I don't know. Axe Spider I expected to be a lot better than what it was. Yes, it's a wall. Yes, it's great if you get multiples, but it can be really slow. And unless you have like the absolute Ice Shield and Suppression on that turn, you can just die, especially if people start teching like Dream Bombs and stuff, because again, committing 5 cores to that turn, assuming you have like other white pips on the board, it's kind of hard. Like, yeah, it's great when it sticks, but man, it is rough in some matchups to find the right timing on it. So I'm very curious to see where that goes, but Dual Eagle obviously stonks. Blessed helps out with the aggro. Great for playing it off Paradise. Does everything that you want to do. So huge shout out to the 5-0 Fabled Beast list. And then the last one to round it out to gold card status, giving a big shout out to Luster. So this one was interesting as someone who played a version of this yesterday or Saturday. I forget which day at Locals it was. I didn't like it. I just stumbled. My ratios were all just garbage. I did not have a good time. I built a very poor version of Luster. This list, though, I do think that you need to find, from a greater discussion standpoint, I spent a lot of time, like there's a 2-drop package support for Luster, and then there's a Fabled Beast package support of Luster. And as I've now played quite both of those like sides of Yellow a bit more, I really do think you want to be somewhere more in the middle. So seeing the Hippo here is really, really nice. Blessed Cathedral obviously being the best overall Nexus for what Luster wants to be doing. And then, of course, like Flavum just helping out your white matchup. Shin is your best Luster unit in the game, period. And then Michaela just helps you cast stuff for free. So really did like the 4 of Drowsy Fumes here as well. Shout out to the Tamagotchi promos, which you can now get at your locals. And a lot of BP reduction effects. So this is another list where I think this is a good shell to go forward with. And the War Mace Angel Knight, I think is the full name, right? The one that gets Luster for free if you BP reduce something. I think that can really help out, especially if we see... Well, I shouldn't say less white control because I'm sure we're going to be seeing more white control, right? Like Flavum and War Mage Angel, War Mace Angel. Man, that's going to trip me up. Are like cards that you want to cycle out between like which side of the Luster package you want to go on. And then Caladrius is one that too, like if I have Flying Arc, I love that card. If I do not have Flying Arc, I hate it. So I'm really curious to see where that makes the cut going forward. I think we might just see more of a shift towards the 4 and 5 cost within Luster itself, just because of how their BP thresholds hit a little bit better. But Volcanic Break is still a very real card, so you still want to have some number of Flying Arc if you can, because otherwise it's very hard to protect your board unless you like pre-combat Gleam of Hope, and that can feel a little bit bad. So, or in this case, the Puppet Strings, right? Puppet Strings here was a very interesting tech for just BP boosting if you need it. And then also the burst effect too for just recovering. And then I'm covering it right here, but it's a 4 of Exhaust Nexus because 4 of Exhaust Nexus is just that card for yellow right now. Cards Gas helps out a lot of matchups. It only gets better with Axe Spider, right? Because double Exhaust Nexus is a thing. Sorry, if you're not playing yellow, I get that Axe Spider might be a little bit more difficult, but yellow mains are like, cool, play that bad card. I don't care. Like, it's so easy for us to remove it, thankfully, that it's going to be really interesting again to see what kind of meta shifts that we see both in sideboarding or main decks of just how they're answering these different cards. So I'm very, very excited. Again, want to give a shout out to these 3 different lists just to have, hey, here's some more ideas. Please, give these a shout out. They did well at locals. It's very much a good starting point. And I think I just, again, really want to have that discussion around like, hey, here's what so-and-so played for Luster, for Fabled Beast, for Nova. Here's what I like about the list. Here's what I don't like about that list. And then you get to go play it at locals, right? Because, hey, that's a good thing. The game is very affordable to get into at this point, right? Absolute Ice Shields are going down. Obviously, they are going to spike again before Ohio. Tell you that right now. We will see as it gets closer a tick up, and then it'll probably come back down again. But I think Absolute Ice Shield's like $20. Gagano Rex is 15 last I looked. Valkyrie Mist is 4 now in Bishop. And then everything else is dirt cheap by comparison. So obviously if you want to bling out, like Star Blessed I think is 40. Absolute Ice Shield for its SPR version. The shiniest of shiny is 75 now I think. But overall, there is a ton of product out there to help players get into the game. And again, it is my favorite game that I've played in the last 10 years. And that's why I continue to do content for it, because I really, really enjoy it. So I can't say enough how much I love getting to see some of these different lists. And it gets me excited for more content, right? There's more stuff that I can play now. So wrapping it up, there it is here right at the end. So again, 11 out of 350 some, 370 some, whatever it was, right? There is a lot more weekly events out there, and I could only say it so much. Please let this be a community effort. Let's all work together and help share with this report. And again, if we get enough people, it'll be every Monday. If the meta is not, shifting enough, maybe it's every other. I don't know exactly yet. Let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, I just think this is a fun way to kick off the week and talk about what happened this last week in locals, right? And kind of what to look forward to. So with that, my friends, happy Monday. Have a great rest of your week. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.